The
Oh,
broadcast is live.
I just hit the button. Did we go live early?
I don't know. Nobody's commenting.
All right, someone's commenting. Hoff Van Dam, what's going on?
Hot and damn.
Afternoon. It's 9
Afternoon.
p.m.
He must be on
Eastern.
a
So
different
what?
side of the
Yeah, he's on the other
planet.
side. Is he an Aussie?
Yeah, I think so. I think he told us that before.
Yeah, because not Europe, because that would be like
It
3
was it
a.m.
was Aussie because when I saw Hoff Van Dam, I was thinking Hasselhoff, so I thought he might be from Germany. But then
Oh,
I
okay.
remember him saying like either Australia or New Zealand, and it's tough to get. It sucks to get the two mixed up because people from Australia and people from New Zealand really don't like it when you get them mixed up. Like I found that out. I always thought that was kind of the same.
Is that a rivalry?
I don't know.
Well, there's sports like rugby is a big rivalry, right? Between New Zealand and Australia. Definitely cricket. It's like cricket or rugby
Cricket.
or what? Yeah. Anyway, hello everybody. We are back. It is off centered. I can hear myself, Steve. Is that
I
on
turned
your
it
end?
off.
Okay. Steve actually just said that there's a guy from his work that might call him, so we might be shuffling back and forth a little bit here if Steve has to go off for a minute. But
I
hey,
just mute myself and take the call.
we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna roll with it.
Maybe I'll just take the call live.
Yeah, once Steve leaves work, they can't do it. Like everything falls apart. So,
It's not that bad.
Joel Kaplan, good to see you. All right, Steve, do you want to talk about your hat? So Steve and I were talking about movie props because we were like, it'd be kind of cool as like game used, like movie used stuff. Because obviously I've been buying like the Stranger Things cards. They've got like relics in them, costume relics and that sort of thing. You'll see that in cards. So I was like, man, especially because I'm into 80s scary movies, I think it would be really cool to have like some of the props from the old scary
Yeah,
movies.
I'm muting myself.
I'm sure they're really expensive. All right, Steve's got to take his call. So I'm just going to talk for a minute. He's going to pretend like he's on a phone call for a few minutes here. Michael Stone, what is going on, guys? C&T, good to see you. Hope all is well. How is everybody's week going so far? I just actually, my video today, some sad news. My grandfather passed away last night. So I'm a little bit shaken. I'm a little shook, as the kids say, but it'll be okay. It's just he was 91, so it's not as if it was a shock, but it's still when someone in your family, leaves, it is still something to deal with. So, yeah, so it is what it is, but it's been a long day. New Zealand, mates. New Zealand. Okay. Is there a bitter rivalry, Hop Van Dam, between Kiwis? Am I using that correctly? Kiwis for New Zealanders and Aussies? I didn't think there was, but maybe there is. I really want to go to New Zealand. I think that they filmed Lord of the Rings down in New Zealand. I'd go to Australia, but I'm not interested in all the poisonous things there. I'm not going to the country in Australia. That's for damn sure. If I go to Australia, it'll be in Melbourne. It'll be in the city. I'm not going to the country. Oh, yeah, all good. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, Christopher. It is all good. He's 91 years old, so I think we all hope to be 91. That's getting up there. So, and he lived a good life. He had really great years leading up to that. So it wasn't as if he was in a lot of pain for a long time or anything like that. So all good. What's up, Jordan? Good to see you. Yeah, definitely, Chad. Definitely a long run. Joe, what's going on? Yes, I will be with Steve on Saturday only. So, and the way that I understand it too is Santiago Sports has a trade night Saturday evening. I think we're going to try to make the trade night as well. So, yeah, we will be there Saturday. We're coming from Delaware, which is a couple hours away. So I think we'll be there at about 11-ish, maybe 10:30, 11 for the show. And then we'll be there all day. I've never been to the Philly show, so I'm really excited about it. I'm going to try to do a little bit of vloggy type stuff. I've been in touch with the promoters of that show. And so we're going to have press passes or some media passes or something like that. We'll see. So I'm excited to meet all those guys and to see people out at the Philly show. I've only heard good things. I'm going to go to Philly and then also Chantilly at the end of June. So we will see. I know. Richard Price, stay away from the outback. Yeah, I'm not going out. I mean, what do they have? They have like army ants that can just go like directly through your skin. And then, of course, they've got all the snakes. It's like, nah, nope. The spiders, yeah. Oh God, the worst is like what you go on YouTube and it's like just type in like Australian spider. It's like the size of a cat, like a grown cat. Like, no, I'm good. Australia and New Zealand. Good stuff. Good stuff. Brisbane. Okay. Steve Splenda, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Steve is on a work call, so apologies. He's being very rude. He did mute himself so that he's not bothering us. But yeah, he had kind of a work emergency where he had to take a call. So good to see everybody. What is everybody picking up this week? Are we buying this week, or are we kind of holding off for other prices, for better prices, or what? I actually did buy some of the new Stranger Things parallel cards that came out. Those, I ordered 10 boxes and then they were taking so long, they offered a refund as an option. I took the refund for the 10 boxes, and then I've spent that money essentially on the parallels. Really been focused on. There's gold, yellow out of 99, and then there's blue out of 11, and I got a couple of the green ones out of 50. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Ship Shawana to link up with Neo. Yeah, he's always on the show circuit. I swear, it feels like Neo is always going to a show. A lot of local shows where he is in Ohio. And then I think actually Neo might be going to Philadelphia. I think he's trying to figure out if he can make it or not to the Philly show. So he might join us out there. We'll see. Steph Curry rookies. Nice stuff. I'm going to make a video over the next couple of days about my disappointment in the current NBA landscape and how I think it affects basketball cards. Really the newer stuff, not really vintage or Steph Curry rookies for that matter, Canton card collector. But the load management is just really, really bothering me. The load management stuff is, and just the way that the NBA is played nowadays. I don't know. So anyway, there's a video coming over the next couple of days on that subject. Always buying within my weekly budget. Love it. Good stuff. Fethdar. Oh, and I do have a 60-day follow-up from my sports card buying videos at my buying problem I've had. That'll be coming out too over the next few days. So I'll give an update on kind of where I am there. Vintage Sports Illustrated. Okay, good stuff. I've had on my watch list, I've had for months, the very first Sports Illustrated, and you probably have seen it, Bryfodes. I hope I'm saying that right. It's just sitting there on eBay. I think it might be like $1,500 or $2,000. I think it's a graded copy, but maybe not. But I've just been watching that because I'm thinking like, the first issue, pretty cool. Nobody talks about our blue-ringed octopus. Over in Australia, I was like, wait, is this? I probably should have read this comment before I threw it up on the screen. Okay, we're not talking about anything crazy. Nobody talks about our blue-ringed octopus, a tiny but deadly sea creature that you can't see so easily like a great white shark. That's the problem with Australia right there. Tiny but deadly. So not only do they have the large deadly creatures, they also have tiny deadly creatures. It's like, how does anybody survive out there? I just don't get it. To me, like the population, like how have the animals not taken over the island? It's crazy. If they only knew that they just have to gang up a little bit, they could take over. There's just, whatever. Hopefully they don't hear me. Buying raw to grade. Been watching your videos. Thanks, Christopher. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's another video that's coming. The new grading numbers for February. Gem Rate just came out with those, and they are staggering, the amount of grading for the month of February. To be honest, I thought that it was going to slow down some, at least some. And according to that report, which is based off of pop count, so it's following the pop reports, it's basically cards get graded, then they go on to the pop report for each of the companies. So that's how Gem Rate tracks it. And it's just every company's grading a lot of cards. So very interesting stuff. Ship Shawana show this weekend as well. Yeah, I've heard good things about that show. Never been to that one. I haven't been to any of the Midwest style shows. Indiana Amish Cuddly Buddy this weekend. Sounds like a blast. Jack Hughes, I recognize this from the ComC hockey list. New Jersey Devils, still affordable and is starting to become an NHL superstar. I feel like there's a lot of these guys that are coming up between Hughes. You've got Robertson. There's a few of these guys. There's a bunch of these guys that had 4-goal games or something that have come out of nowhere. It's interesting. Oh, and thank you guys to channel/video sponsor Game Day Legends. They are sponsoring the live stream. It's DAD is the promo code, DAD at gamedaylegends.com. Check them out. The thing that surprised me too about their site is I'm looking at the cost for sports memorabilia stuff, and then you compare it to the cost of signed cards, and there are some really, really good deals, I think. I mean, I just think that and granted, sports memorabilia takes up more space, but you can have a few really cool items. So gamedaylegends.com is awesome. Definitely check them out. Podiatrist by trade. It's all about the load management. Yeah, I get it. Everyone had enough beers for Dustin talking about load management. Looking to complete my Vikings Hall of Fame rookies. Need Mick, Tingelhoff, and Tarkenton. Always trying to upgrade what I currently have as well. I have a card coming back from SGC right now, and it's a flawless penmanship auto. Fran Tarkenton. I would really like his signature too. He's got a great auto. And I've got a Tarkenton rookie card. I never saw Tarkenton play, but he's just one of those guys that I just respect. Watching the highlights, kind of that first rushing quarterback. So yeah, I'm all about the I'm not being a Saints fan. I'm not a Vikings fan. I am not about the skull with the Minnesota Miracle and all the BS that we've had against. It's like ever since we beat Minnesota and Brett Favre to go and win the Super Bowl, we've been cursed against Minnesota. The last 2 times in the playoffs, we've lost in dramatic fashion.
I'm back. What did I miss?
I thought you gave up.
No, the star of the show is back, guys. You don't have to go anywhere. Lord. I'm just kidding. Man.
I almost lost my voice. I'm talking so much.
Oh my goodness. I heard you say Skull.
Yeah. So TNT is also a Vikings fan too. Yeah. Skull. I mean, I don't dislike the Vikings, but against the Saints, it's just been rough the last few times. So how are you doing, man? How are things?
I'm good. So when we left off before I had to take a phone call, because we were backstage and I was telling you how I'm setting up this room here that I'm sitting in. I guess it's a YouTube. It's just a chill room. But it's like very movie themed and oriented where I got props. Yes. I have toys, posters, pictures, signs of just all kinds of movies that I liked. And I was like, it's going to be like a movie trivia. When people come over to my house, there's at least 50 movie references in here. You can't even see this other side of the room where I can be like, hey, how many of these movies in here can you name in 5 minutes or whatever? But I asked you when we were backstage, I put this hat on because I took my other hat off. So to the people in the chat, I asked Dustin if he could tell me where this hat came from, and he guessed 2 answers, and they were both wrong.
And I thought I had this guy. Okay, so I guessed Stereo City from Old School. You look at the hat, and it kind of looks like a stereo, and it says City on it.
What is it?
Like? But there's a Chevy. But there's a Chevy mark there. Okay, so is this like a NASCAR thing? Oh no, it's Talladega. It's got to be a Talladega. If it's a movie reference, it's got to be Talladega, or it's got to be, it's either Talladega or it's Days of Thunder. Like I can't, that's it. Those are the 2 racing movies I know.
Well, yeah, you got it. It is Days of Thunder. It's the City Chevrolet. It was his first sponsor before he won a race and got the big sponsorship. So the City Chevrolet was Cole Trickle's sponsor.
I couldn't see. Yeah, I didn't get a close look at the hat to know that. Yeah, to see the Chevy sign. It's kind of hiding a little bit back there.
Yeah, but I got the Castle Grayskull back here that somebody's mentioned, and there's lots of stuff back there on the shelf. I don't know if you can read the signs. How many of the signs can you read?
I can see theater all the way in the back, which surprises me because my eyes are not fantastic.
That's like a V sign, so it hangs on the wall like that. And you can see it from the other side and from this side. It's like 3D.
That's cool. Yeah, I can see the Iron Man, or not the Iron Man. The Thanos glove is back there. Is it Thanos next to him as well?
Yeah, that's Thanos next to him. In front of Thanos is something else, but you can't see it.
I see the Ghostbusters car. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some good stuff back there.
Got the Save Ferris sign back there.
Oh, that's what that says. Okay, saw save.
The license plate above that says out of time. There's a glare on it.
Out of time?
Out of time. So that would be a reference to, that's the DeLorean.
Oh, okay. Back to the Future. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and here's the flux capacitor.
Oh my good Lord!
You can't see because the lights are so bright when I turn it on.
I thought we were going back in time.
Yeah, we're about to.
Card collector is selling to raise money for the national. You and me both, my friend. Stranger Things. Just so at that Topps conference, they're announcing that they've got Stranger Things Series 4 paper coming out in the summer. And then they've got some sort of a premium set coming out in November. So yeah, I'm going to
I
need
did
to
not
see it.
watch all that Tops news. I saw all that stuff and I was like, you know what?
All you had to do
So
is just
many.
watch my video, Steve.
I watched your other one. I watched the other one because I was talking to my wife. I was like, oh no. I was like, bad news for Dustin.
Oh yeah, today's. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's one just about every day, man. They're not that long. You got to cover
You
all of
put
them.
out
At
a
least.
video every day.
Almost.
How in the hell
Not
do you do
every
that?
day, but they're like 6 or 7 minutes. They're not. I'm not putting together 30-minute videos.
No, I don't put out a video a day. I put out 3 videos for. I'm just kidding. You know, that's how some are.
Oh, Jordan. All right. Picked up a second shift on the corner so I could buy some Will Greer. And I like where your head is. You're really grind, guys. We got to really grind out here. We've got to get second and third jobs. Grading isn't slowing down anytime soon. No, I was saying for people that might have just joined, I just saw the gem rate data just popped up on IG. They track it by pop report. So it's basically they grade cards, hits the pop report, generates data. I think that CSG, CGC, they didn't have they didn't have the numbers or all the numbers, but the main point of that report is every company is grading more cards in February, which is the shortest month of the year. It's just like, what? It's wild. It's wild to me. What's your thought on that, Steve? Grading as a whole.
As a whole?
Or just in
Well,
general, grading.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, one thing I did want to touch on about grading, but I have a question first because Ziggy did a video the other day, and I had comments in Ziggy's chat or in his comment section, and I don't want him to come off as if I was trying to argue with him. I was just giving him my opinion towards SGC and the fact that they don't authenticate the autograph. Now, with that being said, do they only grade pre-authenticated autographs from reputable manufacturers or reputable? So do they only grade pack pulled autos, or can I go to a card show, have somebody sign a card and then send it to SGC and they're going to slab it with a grade as if it's authentic?
No, they'll only grade the pack pulled stuff.
Yeah. So and that was kind of my debate was that, SGC may not authenticate the autograph. I also don't know if the other grading companies authenticate the autograph unless you pay them to authenticate the autograph. I think authenticating and grading the signature is 2 separate things. I might be wrong. Because I don't send in a lot of autos. The only company I tend to use it for is BGS. Because SGC does it automatically unless you tell them you don't want it done. But the thing was, if they're grading pack pulled authenticated autos, then I don't think a majority of the people buying the slabs that it's going to bother them. Because when you buy the card raw, you have to trust that it's already authentic, right? For instance, I bought a lot for 4 autographs on Instagram the other day. I'll pull one of them out just for the case of discussion. And this is my first auto, I think, of this player. Showed it in my last video. When your case is getting too full, it's time to start selling. But
I'm just going to answer while you're pulling that out, Steve. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
So, I mean, I got a Dirk Nowitzki auto here, and this is just an example.
All right, wait, real quick. I'm going to answer Har Jimba. I like the play on words there. Is this Barkley Charles or whatever?
Yeah, that's Gnarls Barkley or
Gnarls Barkley and all the other ones. Yeah. So I did message with Brad today. He's fine. He's alive. I'm a little concerned about his IG stories and different things popping up. It's all about food. I'm like, dude, do you hang out with girls anymore? Or what's the deal? Do you have women in your life, or are you just posting about food? I always give him a hard time. We go back and forth. He's doing fine, though. He's doing fine. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have one here by Panini. That's a Dirk Nowitzki, and it just says, this autograph is guaranteed by Panini America. Then I have an older one. This is older Upper Deck stuff, chronology stuff. You've received a card personally autographed by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This trading card was signed in the presence of a company representative. So again, certified by Upper Deck. Tops will say the same thing on it. So what, for me, speaking for myself, and I'm going to say that a majority of the people do this, when you go to a card show and you look into a showcase, and you see that these autographs are certified by the manufacturer, you don't tend to question if they're authentic or not. So if I'm buying these to have graded, I'm not buying them for the grading company to authenticate them for me. If that makes sense, because I already am going by the fact that the manufacturer says that they're authentic. And now if the grading company says it's not authentic, now we have a problem somewhere. Someone's wrong. Someone's lying to us. Someone doesn't know. Correct? So,
by the way, so this is funny, I guess, because I watch all the Sports Card Radio's videos. There's a video that popped up from them from like 3 years ago, and it's basically like Luka Doncic's signatures are fake, or something like that. So I'm like, and I just got this jersey, so, and it's signed. And so I was like, I want to see what this is about. So actually they put they had 3 different levels of Luka autos, and they were kind of diagnosing the ones that they feel are the most accurate. Like, these are the ones that are probably real. These are the ones that are iffy. And these are the ones that are just like, oh man, like, just don't look right. And basically, like, the closer you get to Lulu, it's bad, according to what their research or whatever. I did look at mine though, and there is kind of like an L scribble. So according to their research, I think that I'm in the clear, because it is a Panini, authorized, signed jersey. It's they've got their stamp of approval.
Well, and I don't fully know the procedure nowadays with sticker autos out. Now in the era of sticker autos, I know back in the day, the manufacturer actually send the actual cards to the players, and they would sign them. They would sign them and send them back. And that's why a lot of times they weren't in good condition, because they were handled by the players sitting around. I remember watching an MTV Cribs video back in the day, and I can't remember what player it was. I wish I could remember. I want to say it was Edgerrin James, but I could be completely wrong. But anyway, Edgerrin James is on MTV Cribs showing off his house, and he goes into one room, and there was a pile of like Fleer football cards there that he was signing. And I don't know if it was autographics or what it was, but that he was signing in the privacy of his own home to send back to the Fleer company at the time. So that's how I kind of know that these players end up with the cards. I just happened to see it on an MTV Cribs episode one time way back in the day. But, with sticker autos, if they just send the stickers out to the players, and even if they're still sending the cards out to the players, you can't trust. You don't know if the player is actually signing it or not. You're basically taking the player's word for it, which then you develop trust issues with the players, not just the grading companies, not just the manufacturers. Now you're questioning the players, but the ones that tend to be signed in the presence of a representative, and we don't know which ones are. Does Panini, like that Dirk Nowitzki National Treasures that I just showed you, that's an on-card auto. So someone had to interact with the card, right? It wasn't a sticker wasn't thrown on it. If he signed it, then he interacted with it. But did he do it at a Panini event, or did they send him cards to his house? I doubt that they send the cards out to them anymore. And that's why they've gone the sticker route. They'll send the stickers out, or even bring them in. But again, back to the whole SGC point, I believe we're buying the fact that the pack pulled auto, is in our mind is authentic before we even send it to a grader. If people didn't believe that these cards weren't authentic and needed a grader to tell them that they were, they wouldn't be buying them raw. Autograph cards would not be selling raw if they didn't if people thought a grader had to authenticate them first. You get what I don't know. Maybe I know what I'm trying to say, and it's not
and I kind of wonder. I mean, I know that there's been a big push lately for rookie cards. We talked to like 2 weeks ago. Baseball collector Mike, he was talking about rookie cards from the 80s that are signed, by the players, in person. And I guess for a lot of those, they're doing private signings. They're going to a show, they're bringing the cards, they're getting it privately signed, it's getting authenticated. So it's almost it's an in-person signing. So maybe I guess
in that case, that card, if it's going to be slabbed though, would then have to be authenticated by BGS or PSA as authentic, as opposed to SGC. SGC wouldn't take and slab that card, because they are not going to say, hey, this is real or not real. We're not experienced in authenticating autographs. even if we are, we're not going to put ourselves into that situation or that category. We leave this up to Beckett and PSA to authenticate autos that aren't pre-authenticated, and somebody can sign something and make. I could on my printer right now, I could print out a certificate of authenticity and sign something and say, "Hey, this is real. It's got a COA with it." Right?
That's
Nowadays
basically
with
what they
printers and
did.
everything,
And then the
but what
80s,
I'm
90s, that's basically what they did.
but but the thing is that you're looking for reputable companies. Like if you go to what is it, JAS, like
Yeah.
in the Chantilly show, where they all have big time autographers there. And I like the I watched Ziggy's other video about the pop finals, or the uh uh those pop things. I got a
Oh,
couple behind me.
Funko Pops. Funko
Funko
Pops.
Pops getting autographed by Trevor Lawrence. I thought that was cool. I think the autographed Funko Pops are really neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I have never been to GalaxyCon in Raleigh, Ziggy. Actually, I think if I'm thinking of the right one, it fell. Actually, it's twice a year, I believe, but it fell right before the National last year, and so it was like the weekend before, and I couldn't make it, or maybe it was like the same weekend as the National or something. So haven't made it yet, but definitely do want to go. I'm getting more and more, especially with like the Stranger Things stuff, and then also Inkworks did a bunch of autos for different shows. I bought a couple of Sopranos autos from like early 2000s stuff. So like Angel, like all these kind of popular shows at the time. Inkworks is the name of the company that did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of like cool on-card auto stuff. They're on eBay. They're all over eBay, and they're not, it depends on the character and everything. But that's been kind of like a fun,
Right.
just exploration.
Ziggy comes down here at the bottom asking, he says, Steve, why doesn't SGC authenticate the auto? I mean, that's a question for them, but why doesn't HJ or tag? They're scared of they are scared of it. So that's a statement or a question. It looks like a statement. They are scared. So he's saying they're scared of taking the liability or the risk. It's not even necessarily the liability or the risk as much as it is the experience and the manpower. I mean, the way these grading companies had to expand, people are pissed off about their grades, and they're saying all these graders are new hires and now my grades are terrible.
Well, and I think too, even PSA, the largest grading company, I might be wrong, but I think they've only got a handful or
Right.
less auto graders. Like I
But
think they literally have like 3 of them or
and that's what
something.
I'm saying. Authenticating autographs is
Or
like,
yeah, I mean,
and being a
yeah,
handwriting
autograph is much
specialist,
worse.
being a handwriting specialist and things like that. I mean, that's something that takes a lot of training, a lot more research, a lot more experience. And I could just say, probably with the amount of influx of hirees amongst all grading companies, it's hard to hire somebody off the street to be an autograph authenticator. We already
Michael,
complain
this is
bad
the
enough
sort
that
of statement that'll get you banned. So this is your warning.
but I mean, at least SGC is like not pretending to authenticate it. They're not saying, "Hey, we're authenticating this autograph." We're just telling you that this signature isn't smudged, it's not smeared. Your authenticity is on
Right.
the back of the card, basically, which I
Well,
understand.
and I think too, I mean, yeah, grading is there's so many different opinions on it. It's going to
Mhm.
come down to each individual, whether you want to grade, not grade at all, and also you just have brand loyalty like crazy now,
Right.
between all like the big four, and then there's other companies as well. So it's all personal preference,
I mean,
at this point.
I work in a casino, and we have tons of different types of table games, and we have high turnover because there is lots of casinos popping up all over the place. So it's easy for me to run a school and train somebody to deal blackjack. However, it's super tough for me to hire someone or train someone to be an efficient, good craps dealer. It's a complete different ball game. Throwing cards and counting is a lot different than the dexterity and the hand-eye coordination and the math skills and your mind and your brain telling you to do this, or your hands and your brain doing the same thing at the same time to be a craps dealer. It's a complete different animal. And so I kind of relate it to the grading companies where they needed to hire like casinos are doing, and the authenticators just aren't there to be hired. As somebody that works in a casino, the dice dealers just aren't there to be hired. So I relate a lot of stuff to my job because I'm in upper management. And so when I see how grading and it, I might not work for a company as big as a PSA or something like that, but understand how infrastructure and hiring and getting people to do a certain task can work.
CNT wants to know the level of intimidation for the guy that your buddy had to call you about. Obviously, it was something serious. They had to throw somebody out, or they had to cut a hand off or something.
Oh, no, it was something different. I did see a comment. Someone said, because I said that when my case gets full, it's time to sell some cards. And then someone said, when your case gets full, it's time to buy a new case. But I mean, so this is my case that I said was full. So this is just a mini 2-row Zion. Do not use my promo code for 10% off because I don't have one. And this would be another case that's like 4 rows. Oh, this might be the case that you left at the concession stand at the National.
Yeah, the one that
one of them.
about ended our friendship. That about ended our friendship right there. Yeah, there was a lot of money in that case too. So right. that would have been rough. Probably would have gotten some good views on the video, but we would have lost a friendship and had to pay Steve a lot of money. So would not have been worth it at all. But yeah, don't hand me any cases to watch at this year's National. I'm not touching anything. Hey, speaking of that though, are you bringing a case to Philly? Are you planning to make some moves there? Like what's your game?
The small one. Man, I'm not carrying this big case that I took to the National. I will never carry that around the show again. I felt like Hulk Hogan after I left there. The small one I'll take around. Honestly, I'm buying mode right now. I'm not doing a lot of selling. The thing is, the stuff that I was buying last month has already seen like a slight increase. Not big increases, but slight increases. But my plan going in, everybody has an end game. They should. If you don't have an end game, listen up. Always have an end game for a card. My plan going in was to get trade value out of these cards, because if I buy a card for $300 and it goes up to $400, do I sell it and make that profit? I mean, first of all, you got to give somebody a deal. So you're probably selling for $375 or $380 if you're selling to a collector. If you're selling online, you're already getting on a $400 card, you're already getting smacked for almost $50 in fees, probably, right? So you're making $50, which there's nothing wrong with $50. But if you're using that as trade value, you can get all of the $100 out of it. If I buy it for $300, it goes up to $400. If I sell it for cash, I might make anywhere between $30 and $50 profit. If I use it as trade value, I can use it as $100 more towards something I used. So now instead of having $300 to trade into something that I like, I have $400 worth of value to trade into something that I like. So when I was buying these types of cards, I wasn't like, these are going to quadruple in value. I'm going to make lots of money. I'm like, no, these are going to go up in value slightly, but it's going to give me more value towards the stuff that I do want to end up with in my case, because these are cards that I want to move, but it doesn't mean I want to move them for profit. I want to move them for more cards that I want. So that kind of makes sense.
Absolutely.
Everyone knows you just get more value on your trade, I think. And if you trade into stuff that doesn't necessarily have market value, because it doesn't have a lot of sales, you trade up. Now you're naming your price and you're finding the right buyer. And then that's when your bigger money could come into play.
When is the last show? So, okay, you took a little bit of a hiatus, buying a house, all this stuff, but is Philly your first show that you've been to in a while?
Of the year. It's my first show of the year.
When's the last show you went to?
Well, damn. Chantilly, but it might have been 2 Chantilly shows ago.
So it's been like 6 months.
Maybe. Oh, I went to the National in July. So that was.
Yeah, but that was like 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, but was Chantilly before or after that?
Well, the Chantilly this year is end of June.
That I went to. I can't remember.
I think it's before, but either way. Okay. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I'll do a little bit of vlogging with Steve and see if he's able to work some magic with these Philly dealers. I'll be all over it.
Anyway, DC Sports.
Yeah.
And you've been working with DC Sports as well. I've consigned a ton with DC Sports. I've always had good experience with them. There was one time when there was a minor hiccup. But to send to them, it's super easy. You just send your cards. You put an index card in with your cards, with your name, your your email, your phone number, and there might be one other thing on there. And then you just send your cards in. You don't have to even give them a list of what's in the box. They'll research the cards, and then they'll list them for you. Then they'll sell them at auction on eBay. You'll get your amount, and then it'll go into your money will go into what is called like their PayPal account, but it's an account on their website. But then you can instantly move that money to PayPal. You can wire it to your bank. You can get a paper check. You can do whatever you want to do to draw your funds back out. And it's really simple. And when I say I had a minor hiccup one time, they tell you when your listings are going to hit eBay. And I went to look at my listings, and they had been listed for 2 days, but I couldn't find them. They had just forgot to send me the link to my auctions, but that was just it. And as soon as I sent them a message through email, they were like, "Oh, we got it right here," and they sent it to me. So that's the biggest.
Yeah.
That's the only issue I've ever had with them.
With them too, just keep in mind they run everything, at least as far as I know, at a 99-cent auction for 5 days, I believe is what they run it for. I think it's a 5-day 99-cent auction. So, if you're sending in a $1,000 card, or that's the last comp, let's say, you just have to be aware that if it's not a card that you want to run at auction, then you sell that one yourself, or you go a different direction, whether you set that one at buy it now or whatever. For what I've been sending them kind of a lot of the, anywhere from $5 to probably $100 slabs would make up most of it. Maybe some slabs in kind of that 100 to 200. Maybe there's some in there, but just kind of that lower end slab stuff that I just don't want to package and ship and all that. And it's so easy going through those guys.
And I was sending slabs between like 50 and $300 probably. I did hit a couple 1K slabs with them. But the thing is that they will, if you do 20 cards or less, they will have, like, at least since last time I used them, they'll have your cards uploaded within 3 days to eBay. If you send them more than 20, it's just time constraint on when they're going to. So if you send them a big row box of cards, and there's a bunch of $5 to $10 basic stuff in there, it's going to take them a while to get that up. So what I did was I would send them 20 slabs, and then 2 days later, I would send them 20 more slabs. And then like 2 days later, I would send them 20 more slabs. So they had 60 slabs of mine at one time, but I sent them to them spaced out by a day or two so that they would all get uploaded within the 3 business day time frame.
Yeah, I've done the same thing, keeping it.
So, I mean, I had to pay three separate shippings, but it really wasn't that much of a difference because the weight of the package would have been about the same if I'd have shipped it all at the same time.
So the one thing that Collector's Dream is referencing, this TOPS conference, I assume he said Industry Summit, but I think he's talking about the TOPS conference. The one thing I think is really funny, and it just opens up Pandora's box to me, is this whole like frozen refractor thing, or whatever they're calling it, where it's like 0 out of 0 or -1, so like literally it's not like one of ones were the thing, and now we're going backwards from one of one. So are we going to get to a point where one of one isn't even like cool anymore? Now we're going like -1, -5, I'm just like laughing so hard because I'm thinking, like, think about all the people that just spend like so much on those kind of like those one of one cards. And now we're literally going to go, we're going like backwards. Like one of ones are going to be like common before you know it.
Well, I think there's one of one. I think there's legit one of ones. And then I think that there's one of ones that, so if it's the same card and it's exact same photo, exact same everything, and it's just a one of one because it's a different color, I mean, that's a little bit different. But if it's a one of one card that says it's like a game used bat knob, you know what I mean? That's the only one. There's not another game used bat knob parallel of it.
Well, they've got all sorts. I mean, there's a bunch of what did they say? First Bowman for past players. So first Bowman for Babe Ruth, first Bowman for all these. I mean, God, for baseball, there's endless Hall of Famers that are going to have first Bowman cards now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that they talked about. I mean, there was something about
something that people would really.
I don't know, because it's not.
I mean, because Prism and stuff, they still make Larry Bird and they still make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar cards in modern product, like in Prism, but nobody really chases them.
I'm not a big prospecting baseball guy, but I would have to assume that part of the kind of the rush of baseball prospecting is you just happen to be right on that kid that you bet on. Basically, you bought the card when they were 17, 18, 19, and they worked out, and now they're 30 and they rule the league. Whereas if you're going back in time and now it's, it's already proven players, it can't have the same sort of fun. I would assume that, buying that prospect does. I could be wrong though. You know who is a good person to ask? Actually, I saw him in the chat. Maybe he's still here because he is a baseball card guy. It is, oh man, I lost him. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's got a channel. He's going to be at the Philly show. Steve, you know him too.
Don't put that pressure on me, Ricky Bobby.
Mike O.
Oh, Mike.
I don't know if I know obviously he's a baseball card collector, but is he a prospect?
Yeah, he is.
What does he think about first moment Babe Ruth cards?
I'm not sure.
He was in here. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw him. I know that he is, collects Phillies and things like that because, but I don't know what he like. I don't know if he buys like to resell or anything like that, or if he just likes to collect old Philly stuff. Like the first video, the first time I interacted with Mike O is I believe I sent him a grading order a long time ago before I wasn't even on YouTube. He was just a group subber that I found on Facebook. And then 1 year, it might have been the 2020 when they did the Hobby Palooza, which I've never been part of. I've never been part of. I just sit on the side and watch Hobby Palooza, guys.
Well,
I'm like the roadie.
If I get
invited, the sound guy.
There's no guarantees I get invited back, but if I do get invited back this year, Steve, then you can jump on with me for sure.
But Mike did his Hobby Palooza like video. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm gonna get my time off. But he just went through his Philly collection with his dad, and I watched that and like. As someone at the time, I was really like buying and doing a lot of buying and selling. I mean, I was flipping a lot of cards, and I watched that video or that part of Hobby Palooza where Mike and his dad were going through their Phillies card collection. And that's a big thing that really tugged back at my collector chain. That's when I was like, man, I've gotten back in. I call myself Flipping Steve. All I do is flip cards. I'm making money. And then I watched that and I was like, wow. I was like, this was like, just sit there and was like, cool. And it wasn't somebody showing me a bunch of $1,000 cards and what we're doing and how much money we're making and what's hot and what's not. It was just a genuine, hey, this is me and my dad and we collect Phillies. And I was like, well, damn. I was like, well, it was just something that got back in touch with my collector side. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to still flip, but I'm going to collect again.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's always good to have kind of some sort of PC element to it. Definitely, which you have that. I am not going to make the Burbank show in Anaheim. I really want to make that show, but I think they're going to start doing them a couple times a year. So I think that's going to be a 2024 goal. It's just such a beast to go to the West Coast Canton Card. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. So, I mean, I could go to Europe probably faster than I can get to that Burbank show.
Yeah. I can get to what? You can get to England in what, 5 hours?
Yeah.
6
I mean,
hours?
I've got family in England. My wife's family's in Italy. I could literally get there faster than getting to Burbank. But no, I hear you. I'd love to go to that show though. There's a lot of great East Coast shows that are within striking range I haven't even been to. So Chantilly and Philly, I'll knock those out this year. I'm excited about that. I did see something, I think it was on IG with Arnold signing this card. I thought it was a really cool card. Yeah, I didn't realize it was GAS or who was affiliated, but I did see that, and I thought that was really cool. I didn't realize it was an 84 Conan rookie card. That's pretty cool. That's stuff that I talk about all the time, and I know I'm kind of going off on the bandwagon a little bit, or going off the deep end with
tangent.
The culture card stuff. I just think it'd be so cool, if you had autos from back in the day, Friends or Seinfeld or a lot of these classic movies, Steve just put his Indiana Jones hat on.
Indiana Jones, baby.
I mean,
find some treasure.
As much as I love sports cards as well, I just think that kind of brings it full circle for me, especially when you've got all the cool 80s movies and the 80s, 90s nostalgia stuff. So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
80s nostalgia stuff?
Steve's wife.
Indiana Jones.
Steve's
I have
wife is like, this is getting a little bit out of hand, Steve.
the gold fertility idol.
Yeah, you got all the stuff.
No, that's on my display with my. That's like my artifact treasure shelf for movies. Like, here's one. What's this, Dustin? Bet you the comments can beat you to it.
It's a key.
Can you guys beat Dustin to this? And you guys are on a delay. Can you guys guess what this is before Dustin does?
I actually don't know what.
Chris got it already.
I'm too slow. Hold on, let me get all the way to the bottom here. Goonies key. Nice.
Yeah, it's the key.
I was just about to say your background. You're going to look like Vegas Fines, with his background before long.
I wish.
Dude, Chris's background is legit. Let's be honest. Autos from most current players are barely autos. They don't
Chris
hold.
Probably has some stuff that I would probably like to buy from him.
Probably
building a man cave here.
Probably. Yeah. No, you're right. And actually, what did I buy recently? Jim Plunkett's auto is really nice. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Archie Manning, those old. You know what though? I guess I could push back a little bit. Did you see who is the prospect? The top, was it Juan Alonso? I can't remember the player, but it showed basically him standing in front of all the Bowman autos, and they were just base. It was base cards. It wasn't even like parallels, and it was stacks and stacks and stacks of these cards. So these dudes, I mean, yeah, the older Hall of Famers, they probably do have a nicer autograph because they're not being asked to sign 100,000 base cards or whatever. I'm just saying. I'm defending them a little bit. I'll play devil's advocate a little bit on that.
You say the older guy. Well, but the other thing with the older guys, because that's you too. But I mean, I buy a lot of Hall of Fame autos. You can tell who's aging because their signature starts to look shaky. I know that sounds shitty, and it is, but just the difference between Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 2017, 2018 on-card autos and the difference between Kareem Abdul-Jabbar product that's coming out now, 2021 product or 2022 product, his signature has gotten shaky.
Yeah. Yeah, same with, okay, Brendan talks about Stan Lee. Yeah, and Stan Lee signed a lot of stuff. I mean, people talk about, between like cards, comics, Stan Lee was a mainstay at the shows. He's a legend, obviously, so,
Yeah, and people change their signature. I mean, look at Giannis. Some of Giannis's rookie cards have his full name, and then some just have his initials. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar took Kareem out of his autograph.
Oh, did he? Yeah, because it's just like Abdul-Jabbar.
It's just Abdul-Jabbar, but you can find older copies of his auto where he did sign his first name with it.
Does he have a Lou Alcindor autos?
No, that's one thing I look for. I was like, it would be amazing if you could actually find where he had signed Lou Alcindor. That's probably rare.
Absolutely. Pull out a comment where you see it, because I'm literally just I'm like 30 minutes
I can't
behind.
access comments.
Oh, you can't.
I have to tell you. I can see them, but I can't click on them. So I just got to tell you.
Just tell me the time and the name. Yeah, if you see something that pops out, because I'm behind, like usual.
Yeah.
Piss of the dumb delay of game penalty. Favre throwing the ball. Yeah. Tracy Porter picked it off. Yeah, it's just like everything went right for the Saints that game and really kind of end out that season, which just doesn't happen to us. That was a one-time. It was like a gift from the football gods. Hasn't happened since. It's like they gave us that one, and then we basically got like the Rams no call, the Minnesota miracle, the Vikings touchdown at the end of the game. Cousins threw a game-winning touchdown a couple years back.
Mike Petty at 9:49, so he just came in, was talking about Hank Aaron's old man, and that's another one. Like Hank Aaron cards, if you're buying some of the older or some of the more recent stuff before he passed away out of Transcendent or Topps Definitive and things like that, his auto is sometimes all over the place. Like he misses the A and things like that. It's really hard to find one that's really nice and clean.
Did you buy a Hank Aaron auto in Raleigh?
I did. I bought one in Raleigh, and it looked pretty good. It's not what I would say is his best, specimen, but it's not like some of the ones that I have seen. And I wanted to have one. It's not a card that I would say, hey, I'll never get rid of this card, because I'll get rid of that in a deal for something else that I might like. I just felt like there was a couple autographs missing from my collection that I wanted, but it's not like, hey, I wouldn't move on from these for something else. I kind of go through phases where I'm like, oh man, I gotta have a card of this guy in my collection. Why don't I have one? Recently, it was
Yeah.
Charles Barkley, and I don't even know why. My brother loved Charles Barkley.
I
I've
love
been going through,
Barkley.
I've been going through a lot with my brother. He played in that time of when I was watching basketball. Is he a GOAT? No. I mean, he's a good player. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a top 20 player of all time. So he's still
I think
popular because he's
too.
on television.
Yeah,
But if he
and
wasn't on television, he
he's
would
great on television
right.
too.
But do you think
Yeah.
he would hold his popularity though if he wasn't on television, or would he just kind of be like a Dominique Wilkins, Patrick
Yeah.
Ewing? Those guys were
John
really good
Stockton.
players. Yeah, those guys were really good
Yeah.
players, but there's nothing that keeps them relevant other than basketball history,
A
right?
guy like that is David Robinson. You remember
Yeah.
going back like that 89-90 hoops. He has the two versions of his hoops rookie. I mean, David Robinson, the Admiral, was like everything back then for basketball cards. That was like the big chase. And you're right. Like, what's weird is like Michael Jordan, I guess he just kind of set his legacy and he's got Jordan shoes and apparel and all that, but he's not on social media. Like he's not relevant at all. And he's like, I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing. But he's that one guy that's just like, he's nowhere to be found, but it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Well, he made Bird and Magic made basketball cool to watch here in the United States. That's when basketball really started getting ratings. That's when they stopped tape delaying the playoff games. I might be wrong, but still I think the most watched college championship game was Indiana State and Michigan State back then.
Yeah.
It may have been broken since then just because of
population
and things, but
yeah.
But Jordan was the one that made it worldwide. Right.
Yeah.
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson made it cool here in the United States, and everybody was made basketball popular here in the States, and then Michael Jordan took it international, worldwide.
The one that's interesting, I like Chris's comment here. Vegas finds faux scarcity is somewhat figured out these days. The thing that's kind of odd though is even with the faux scarcity, Fanatics wants to 10x the hobby, and they've talked about not 10xing price points because I think people kind of get a little confused with that. It's more of like 10x what they're explaining is 10x the customers or collectors in the hobby. So they want 10 times, that's the goal, 10 times as many people that are in here collecting and on any sort of scale, they want to add that in. So I guess I just wonder too, it's like, but I think a lot of people are taking that as well. That means that my cards are going to 10x if we get 10 times as many people. And that's not the case at all necessarily. But I think though, it's really interesting because we look at pop reports today on stuff and we think like, oh, that's a high pop report or that's a low pop report. And it really depends so much on how many people are participating at any given point. I mean, if there's 10 times as many people participating, then a pop might not be that much, depending on what the card is or the player is. I mean, it might change that completely. So,
right.
I don't know.
We'll got my Barkley out. Look at the patches on that.
I like the
that
Sixers
bottom
stuff.
patch.
Yeah, I've been trying to find it. That's on the list.
Game used out of 10. Cheap.
I'll trade you my Jimmy Johnson sign of the times for that.
I got my Jimmy Johnson card.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, look, I got the Jimmy Johnson Richard Petty duel.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a nice card, but you don't have the sign of the times.
No, I know, but now I have a Jimmy Johnson.
Well, you need another one, and I want
him and Richard Petty aren't getting along. They might never ever sign again because this is on card, so they signed it together.
Yeah, I remember when I was buying NASCAR, I lost an auction on that card for so cheap. I have a couple of different auctions, and now they've gone up in price quite a bit. So I'm like, okay, it's gone now.
So I'll show you. This is going to be in a video coming up. But this is my deal of probably the year so far, and not because it's going to make me a lot of money, but just this is the stuff that you can buy and that you can flip. And I say there's always going to be somebody willing to pay more than what you paid for something if you buy something at the right price. This is a National Treasures. Now, it's a napkin patch, so it's not multicolored or anything, but it's on-card auto National Treasures, Isaiah Thomas, game used. So it's game used, one color.
Isaiah Thomas stuff.
But it's on card. But this card was listed on eBay at a buy it now for $70 or a best offer. And I made a $40 best offer and they accepted. Okay. My thinking is if I cash this out, if somebody walks up to my table at a trade night or just walks up to my table at a show and I say $60 and they say, how about 50? I made $10, right?
It's a low entry, very low.
And for $40 in cash, I'm sure I could get 60 in trade out of it. So it's just like, anything of somebody of his status that's on card and game used, that's clean and that's national treasures at $40 just seems like, how can you not? Like, if you watch Sports Card Radio a little bit, some of the cards that they were buying, even though they weren't cards that were super popular, and they weren't cards that, you might not even know who is going to buy something like that. The fact that they're getting something at a certain price point lets them know that it's going to be a win. And I just think that when you get something like this at that price point, how can it not be a win? So that's kind of the stuff that I'm looking for right now. Sometimes it's hard to find those deals, but that's why it's important to make your offers. If you looked at this and somebody had it listed for 70 and you were like, I wouldn't pay 60 for that.
Isaiah Thomas is it's one of those weird hobby things where it's like Michael Jordan didn't like him and he's just like completely wiped him off of the hobby landscape. But you're right. I mean, the price point is so low on that one that you're fine. But
time will change things.
Isaiah Thomas was a really good player. I mean, like,
it's two championships and MVP, finals MVP, and 14, 15 time All-Star. He wasn't a slouch. And in fact, if you argue your top 5 point guards, now we're just strictly talking position point guards, arguably, I'm not saying Zeke is a lock, but he's arguably top 5, which easily puts him like top 8, right? Because people are always going to have people that are fringe. Just for that, and time heals things. I think over the history of basketball, people will appreciate him more. They'll forget about the Jordan stuff. You talk about it with baseball, how you were buying some Barry Bonds stuff because you feel like in due time and over history, people will forgive, right?
Well, it's basically like Michael Jordan of baseball, but he took PEDs. Like he owns the home run record. He owns a lot of the major records in baseball. Like, it's just. And I get, I understand the view. I understand the PED viewpoint, but and also it's price point. When I look at Barry Bonds stuff, you would think like the home run king. Frankly, for me, I'm surprised that it's not more. So that's why I'm happy to buy it. I just don't get it.
That's how it was with me. I'm not in the market for Isaiah Thomas cards, but when I breeze by something that just looks like that, how can I, for $40, if somebody's really going to sell me that for $40, how can I say no?
One thing I wanted to bring up here is Fanatics Tops talked about at their conference. I forgot what they called it, but it was like moments. It had to do with moments, and it was basically like a piece of the base, whether it's like I think it was like their first hit, maybe for a prospect or something. I could be wrong on this, but it's like if it's a single, then it's going to come from first base. If it's a double, it's second base type thing. But the one thing I liked about that, though, is there was some creativity with the memorabilia. And then also, I think it sounded like it was going to be a part of the card. So, it sounded to me like it was going to be, this is the first, the base from the first single that this guy ever hit, and then if they carry that over when they have licenses for football and basketball, that's damn cool. I brought up actually on a video, the Marino card that you have and the Marshall Faulk card that I have, that 96 Upper Deck auto. Or not the auto, the patch. And it says right there on the card, it says this is the first ever patch card that basically like Upper Deck company's ever done. It's that 96 card. Do you remember that one? That little patch card it's Merino. And then I've got the Marshall Faulk. It's like a little blue and white patch.
The first Upper Deck?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one I was talking about, I think, last week that said it actually said what game it was from. It was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Miami had lost the game and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you think about today where it's like people can't stand, they're starting to get more picky about the player worn or just, it's not associated with any event or player. That, to me, it sounded like, again, it could just be pie in the sky. It could be exaggerations or whatever, but that would be a huge thing to me if I'm buying memorabilia cards.
Right.
All right, Mike.
Pepino Man says WWE would suck if they tested for steroids. That WWE, it's basically AEW. The AEW wrestling is basically the WWE without steroids. It's a bunch of like smaller guys and stuff.
You know what's really interesting is you really kind of respect there's documentaries on like Bret Hart and kind of the like Ric Flair and the old timers when they were literally like traveling around together in an old van.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they weren't making any money. They were putting their, and say what you will about wrestling. I had like a story up because it was like RoboCop was at like a WWE or WWF event like in the 80s or something. Like, like they did some crazy stuff, but those guys did it for the love of the game type thing. I mean, they were not making a lot of money. So you got to respect some of those old timers. Okay, Mike said, seeing the old guys get first Bowman could be fun, but I find it hard to believe they will have extreme value other than one of ones. Yeah, I guess it's how far are they going to take it? How far are they going to do that with, the Babe Ruth? Is it going to be the 1 of 1 and then the orange out of 25 and they're going to do all that stuff? Or is it going to be like one card, huge chase type deal?
Mm-hmm.
Game used tooth relic hockey cards. I mean, we joke, but that's kind of like the, maybe not teeth, but you want something cool.
Got some real DNA in that one.
Yeah, you want something that's got a little, spice to it. Maybe not teeth.
We want player DNA cards now.
Yeah. Retro first Bowman cards, better idea. Yeah, the frozen fracture. Honestly, the negative 5 out of 1. I don't know how they're going to number those, but man, that's really next level. That's next level.
All right, here we go. Dustin versus the chat. Movie trivia one more time.
Okay.
Dustin versus the chat. Now you got to now they're on a delay, remember, so you automatically got a head start.
All right.
What's this book? Handbook for the recently deceased.
Beetlejuice.
Oh man, you got that one fast.
Boom.
Man, Dustin all over you guys on that one.
Boom.
No fair.
What a great movie too. I need to watch that again sometime soon. When are you going to come to West by God, Virginia, Dustin, or Flippin'? I drive through West Virginia to go to Ohio sometimes. Is there a good show out there? Legend of Brett Morrison? Let us know.
I've been to West Virginia, driving through.
Yeah, through what is it? It's not Bellevue. It's something, but it starts with a B though. Anyway, I saw, there's a YouTube video I watched. Frankensons looks unbelievable. It's in like a Sam's Club or something. It looks insane, that Frankensons in California.
I just want to go to California, period. So like when I do go to California, I will make sure that there's like a show going on. Like last time when I went to Tampa, I wanted to go to Florida, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait till they have a card show going on. And it was cool because a lot of people in the card community live in that Florida area. So I was able to meet Ryan from Breakout Cards and Michael Ham and stuff there and go to go to a show together. Like when I go to North Carolina and go to a show with you, and now you're coming to Philly and going to a show with me. Speaking
of Ryan, Breakout Cards is going to be in Philly.
He should be in Philly, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He wanted to hang out. Yeah. So we're going to see him. Yes, Jim Plunkett, the old Raiders QB. Did I say a different name, Bradley? Maybe I misspoke there. It's Jim Plunkett, yes.
How long of a drive is it for you?
To you?
Yeah, I guess.
To Delaware, it's like 5 hours, 5.5
hours. So for the people questioning you and your will to go out and buy cards and do things with cards, you're driving 5 hours and then we're going another 2 hours from my house to the Philly show. So go figure.
Oh yeah. No, I'm still in the game. Yeah. Still in the game.
Back in the game, baby.
We got to play the Bones to get out of here.
That's from Goonies. Remember the Bones piano that she had to play for them to get that? Yeah.
Upcoming player. I've got these comments where I'm not sure exactly what they're referencing. So shout out.
I know because that's because the comments gets their own discussions going, which is cool because that's what always was awesome about my live streams is people just didn't come to like chill with us. They also interacted with each other.
Absolutely. Rod Carew. You know what? I have it's a little bit smeared. SGC just graded it. It's a Lou Brock auto that's inscribed the franchise on it. Pretty cool, but it's got a little bit of a little smudge, but cool card. I don't like the deathbed autos. Yeah, I assume he's talking about the older age
older
autos
ones we were talking about earlier.
That
we were talking about like 20 minutes ago in the comments.
Yeah, I'm 20 minutes behind. I'm still on One-Eyed Willie from Brendan.
Yeah, I'm still talking about Goonies.
All right, I'm going to move all the way to the front of the line here, and then just go. If there's something that I missed, holler back.
Yeah, just put it back in the chat. Like that's what. If he misses your thing, if he misses your comment, just put it back in the chat.
Steve Splenda really badly wants you to know that he's very happy about KD being in.
I didn't. I asked him. He was on with AIH the other night. They were doing their live stream, and I asked him. It was not long after Kevin Durant got traded. It was like a day or two after, and they had to go through the All-Star break and stuff before he could actually play with the team. And I didn't see his debut, so I'm not really. I guess he must have did really well.
I thought he was still out. I can't keep track with all this load management crap.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm so upset about the NBA. I can't stand it. So upset about it. Actually, Barkley had a great take. He was like the other night. He was like, these dudes are literally getting 30, 40 million a year and just sitting around on the bench.
I like Inglorious P's comment here.
Thoughts on Fanatics potentially doing non-sports cards, potential for actors autos? We're all over that. I mean, that's something that I've been in Stranger Things, but just open to all sorts of different things. Not necessarily just that, but
I think what's funny is I pulled up these Zion cases a minute ago. 2-row Zion slab case filled out with some sports cards that I want to move. 4-row Zion case completely filled out with stuff that I don't want to move. And this is all pop culture, actors, rock stars, singers, all kinds of different stuff. And it's not like when I say pop culture, I don't mean it's like modern Star Wars and Marvel. I mean, it's like Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and Marilyn Monroe. Okay.
Yeah. I have some Marvel stuff.
Michael Jackson.
I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm just not into nothing against the newer stuff, but it's kind of like what you had said with, I think you had like some of the original Star Wars, like the vintage stuff going back to the 70s. Yeah. If I was going to buy Star Wars, it would probably be that older vintage type stuff. But I do like some of the new on-card autos and whatever that I know that the other people are talking about and collecting those, but just me.
I always buy different. So when I was buying vintage Star Wars, and I still have them all, and people were buying a lot of the 1977 Topps set, I was buying the 1977 Panini stickers. They're basically the same image, but Panini had to print them on stickers for their sticker books, and Topps printed them on cardboard here in the States. And they were only made in Italy. So only enough print run for that country. And most of them probably got stuck in sticker books because that's what they were made to be doing. So to find them still with the backs on them in good condition, PSA slabs them. So whenever I find them already slabbed and I don't have to pay for that grading fee, I buy them in 5s, 6s, and 7s. It doesn't even matter what the grade is, because they're a lot more rare than what people. Probably a lot of people don't even know that they exist, but they're a lot more rare than the actual Topps cards.
Yeah, the Stranger Things stuff, there's no vintage. Like the first year was 2018, I mean, the first year is like, there's nothing, there's like 5 sets of it, so there's just not much supply at all out there for it, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I can't win a Stranger Things card.
With Marvel, there's a zillion sets. I mean, and with Star Wars, there's a ton of sets going back for all that. But anyway,
every time I bid on a Stranger Things autograph, there's some eBayer from North Carolina that beats me out. Like someday I'll find this guy and I'll be like, damn, why you keep running my Stranger Thing auctions up?
I wonder. It's crazy too, because it's still, I think that's the other part that's fun, is it's so inexpensive compared to everything else, because there's like 5 collectors for Stranger Things stuff. So it's great.
Well, you know what happened? I went in the National. I was just looking around for anything different. I got tired of looking at Luka, and I got tired of looking at Tom Brady, and I was like, come on, somebody show me something different. And there was a stack of Game of Thrones autos. You remember? You were there. Right. And so I picked out like 5 or 6 of them, some of the key characters. And I was like, these are cool. Me and my wife watch Game of Thrones. Um, and I posted them on Instagram as I was leaving the show. And I swear, by the time I got back to my hotel, not Instagram messages, I'm talking about direct messages to me from Instagram was just crazy. Hey, what do you want for that Jon Snow? Oh, what do you want for that Tyrion Lannister, that Peter Dinklage auto? You know, people were asking me, and I was like, if is it awareness? Do a lot of people just not know that that Game of Thrones had autograph cards? Because um nobody had ever asked me about them or for them until I bought some and threw them on Instagram. And I don't, and people didn't want them because I bought them. They weren't all of a sudden like, oh, Steve's buying them. They're going to be worth money. I think that it was more of a, well, damn, I like Game of Thrones and I didn't even know they had cards type mentality.
Well, and there was also some spec because that House of Dragons show, I think, came out like 2 months after
Yeah.
the national. It came out like right after that. So I think there was some speculation around that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was also like people were looking for like Lord of the Rings cards for the same reason.
Right.
You know, and I get it. I mean, I guess if you're a believer that Game of Thrones will kind of continue on, you know, there will be more and more of that stuff, or it just remains kind of an iconic show. Look at the Harry Potter stuff. There's people that are all about those on card Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
And to
Pepino
wrap
is
up, but to wrap up Inglorious P's question, yeah, I would
yeah.
love for Panini to come out with like a cool high end product. Would be awesome. I mean, we have the Leaf Pop Century stuff, but I feel like they just make multiple backgrounds, so again, they can do the false scarcity. You know, there's so many different colors of those autos and different photos, and they're all stickers. I mean, honestly, just like with
Yeah.
sports, if I want something that you know, a rock star that I like interacted with. Like if they interacted with the card, like I'm almost more for something that's been actually worn than a sticker auto. Like nowadays, even with game used cards, if I had a choice between something that was just a sticker auto and something that was a game worn patch with no auto, I'm probably leaning towards the game worn patch because it actually had something to do with the player uh, on the card itself. But I don't know. You could say a patch and a sticker are the same thing. Everybody's gonna have their own thoughts and opinions. It's great.
Yeah, folks have been moving in on the vintage music cards for a while. Now, Steve, you've been all over that probably for a year,
Oh, it's
longer.
been. I bought my first vintage music card in 2020 at
Okay.
the end of the pandemic because we went. I was in Florida. I remember exactly where I was. We were in Disney World. We were riding back from Disney Springs on one of their public transit buses, and I was just searching eBay. And I was like, "Wow, check out that '68 Panini Rolling Stone sticker. It's already graded a PSA 9." And I was like, "What's the pop on that?" And it was like 2, none higher. And I was like, $75 just seems too cheap, and I bought it. And I've seen since I've been offered 1,500 for that, and I've seen like the PS. There has been one graded a PSA 10 that ended up hitting auction and going for like almost 4K. So
there is one more season, Mike, for Stranger Things. It's going to come out probably like summer or fall of next year. So there's some time there. They actually too just announced there's going to be like a play. There's going to be like a theater play for Vecna. So like the main villain. This is just like a random thing that came out, and I think it's gonna be at the end of this year is when it starts. It's in London, but it is canon. So basically, like the storyline will match up with the play, and then I guess with the series. So kind of interesting. They've already said to the whole there will be some form of Stranger Things spinoff universe stuff. So it won't be that it just ends and that's it. There will be spinoff stuff for it. So
Bradley Helson's comment that just came in, where he says, "I'm done with patch cards. Panini has ruined it for me." Actually, one more down, and we can go back to that one. But that's what makes the game use stuff special is because Panini has kind of ruined patch cards, right? Like nowadays they're player/event worn, which means a player put it on, they took it off, they cut it up. They put on another one, they took it off, and they cut it up. They were putting them on and taking them off faster than they could cut them up. But that's what makes some of the older ones that are game worn and stuff, and actually might have dirt on them. Or I mean, I saw an Emmett Smith one time that had dirt on it, like I was like, damn, they didn't even like launder this. And I saw, um, and even some of the old basketball ones, you can tell that they've been worn, and you can tell that they've been sweated in and things like that. I know this sounds gross, but anyway, um, but that's what makes them more special is that the game use stuff just isn't being made anymore. If it was still being made, I believe it'd be a little bit more watered down than I have to go back and buy old Upper Deck product and such to get game use stuff.
Yeah.
And now with the Hall of Famers, there is some cards that or some companies or brands sets that still produce game use a lot of the Hall of Famers, but with rookies it's like never. In second year guys, third year guys, it's never. But a lot of times with the Hall of Famers, it is game used. And there's some great sets out there. I'm going to do this. I got a request to do this video for sets that I think, because you got National Treasures and Flawless. But if I still want a really nice high end type quality card that's game used with an on card auto, what are my options? Because not many people can afford Flawless and National Treasures. So what are some that would might tend to fall into more people's budget? That's the stuff that I'm after because it'll make me easier to use it or move it. I got a higher demographic of people that can afford it. But also for myself, like I can buy a really nice auto game use card of a certain. I love Panini One and Panini Noir. Panini Noir has become like one of my favorite basketball products, and that's just a set that I think is highly underrated. They look great. They're game used on card. Like I picked up this Kareem gold auto on card game use patch. It was already graded. This was like $450. And then I watched a Flawless the same night, graded a 7.5, a grade lower, go for like $2,000. So it went for 4x of what I bought this one for, just because it said Flawless on it instead of Panini Noir. But the card itself was pretty much the same card.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Makes sense.
Right. And I get it.
Here's an idea for Topps. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, Steve, for a second.
No, you're good. Cut me off, baby.
We've got Mangini and we've got Pepino. So what if Topps bought, which is not difficult to do, vintage cards for players in the same way that they would buy like a game used jersey, and then they cut it up for whichever baseball Hall of Famer, take your pick on whoever that is. But they slip in the old cards, but they put a game used patch in it. And then maybe even there's an autograph if the player's still alive to be able to sign it. That would be an interesting little twist if those were chase cards. So basically they're putting vintage cards that have been adjusted essentially to put game used material or something in it, and then dropping that into Topps Update 2025 or whatever the hell it is. I don't know, just saying. I'm not trying to give Topps all these ideas for free, guys. So if you need any consulting work anymore, come to me. But I don't have any. I'm not giving any more of these amazing ideas for free. But wouldn't that be freaking cool as hell? You open like 2023 Series 1, and then you notice that there's a vintage card in there, and it's, I don't know, maybe they number it or something. Maybe they put they stamp it with a number. I don't know. Just saying.
I want to touch on Inglorious P again, and then
Ryan, you just keep on going back to the well.
He's got a different comment. He's got a different comment because he has good comments. And then
which one? 1018?
Yes. And then Brett also chimes in and says that he hasn't sold a card at the bottom. Here at 1019 says he hasn't sold a card since the 90s. But the thing is that like the hobby was built on using what you have to get what you want, using what you don't want to get what you want. Whether that's selling to buy what you want, when we were kids, I collected Cal Ripken Jr., Wade Boggs, and Tony Gwynn. So I traded my Mark McGuire's to my brother for Cal Ripken, right? I'm giving up that for that. I couldn't be like, I'm going to keep all my Mark McGuire's. I'm going to keep all of my Kirby Pucketts. I'm going to keep all of my Roger Clemens. It's just impossible to keep everything, especially when you're trying to get something and you don't necessarily have the means of getting it without giving something up for it. So, hey, I like Tony Gwynn. I'll give you this Kirby Puckett card for Tony Gwynn. That's how it worked in the neighborhood, right? You just change cards and and that's how you did it. You pulled them out of packs, and you traded the cards away that your
Well,
friends liked for the cards
they're
that you liked.
trading cards. The difference is
Right.
30 years ago, you couldn't sell them. The difference is they're more liquid now than they were 30, 35 years ago. There wasn't a selling option. It was like you either traded to your buddies or you traded to the dealer for more packs. That was your
Right.
option. There
Well,
there was no selling options.
Well, I remember there was an LCS that you could sell cards to, but it wasn't like when you would go to the LCS when I was a kid. I always wondered, where did they get their cards from? Did they get them all out of packs? But I guess they're buying collections and buying cards off other people and putting them in their store. As a kid, you don't think about that kind of stuff. But I remember when I wanted my first Wade Boggs rookie. I wanted a Wade Boggs rookie, and then the Beckett back in the day had that like $30, and I'm like, you got to be rich to have a Wade Boggs rookie in this neighborhood. No Wade Boggs for me. And I remember I got it like an $8 card, and then I got like a $10 card, and then I got this mini set of Fleer headliners that was worth like $16. And then I was like, I went to my friend that had that Wade Boggs, and I was like, man, the Beckett says that that's worth $30, and I have this $8 card and this $12 card and this $16 set, and I'll give it all to you for your Wade Boggs. And that was my way of trading up back when I was younger. It just has moved forward. Fast forward, man, I'm old as hell. Fast forward 35 years at least, and here we are, right? It's just a different ballpark because of where we're at now. So,
speaking of ballparks and baseball, I just got a text from my son. He's playing kind of a late night game, but he's a junior. He started in left, and he went 1 for 2 with a single. So there you go. For those that, I don't know a lot about baseball cards, but I'm learning more about baseball thanks to my son. He's playing as a junior. He's trying to, so he made the team, but then it's all about, can you get a starting position, which is quite a bit tougher. You can make the team and kind of like spot pitch, hit sometimes, but to actually start for, you have to win over a senior spot basically. So good stuff.
Yeah,
good
and
stuff.
I'm seeing like a lot of content. Like Lee says, as a kid, I started as a collector, never traded a card away. Like I maybe I can't grasp that concept because I don't understand how you got the cards that you wanted unless you had unlimited. Like, were you just able to just buy packs and buy packs and buy packs, or go to the flea market or the LCS and just buy cards? Because I mean, I grew up with a single mom and a brother and on government assistance and standing in line for cheese and powdered peanut butter, and my mom riding her bike to work to 2 separate jobs because she didn't have a car. So to me,
so we got all the rich kids in the chat.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying any, I'm not trying to say I had it rough, because as a kid, that was life and it was great. As a kid, you don't know any better. You think that this is the way things are. But to me, I had to like give up. Like, I couldn't just keep all my cards, like every single one, and be like, I'm just going to keep them all and keep buying more and more and more. I had to give up the ones that I didn't necessarily like as much for the ones that I really wanted. And don't worry about my personal life. I'm fine. I grew up all right.
Yeah, Steve, actually, we're going to put our GoFundMe link here at the end of the stream. If you guys could donate as much as you possibly can, that'd be great. If you guys are all on trust funds, if you guys got inheritances, then please.
Look, don't doubt the government cheese. If you've ever made a grilled cheese with that, it's the best cheese out there.
Oh, Pepino took it to the next level. All right. Trading cards for favors. All right. I just bought packs at the local 7-Eleven with allowance money. Yeah, I was basically just chasing like Diamond Kings, like what is 88 or 89 Don Russ baseball, chasing Diamond Kings. Then 89 Pro Set football came out and changed my life forever. That was the good stuff.
I remember in 89, it was in 89. That was the first year that I got cards for Christmas. We had always did buying and trading in the neighborhood and trying to get a pack here and there from the corner store or whatever. But in 89, my brother started getting into football cards, and there was like no football card Beckett.
Steve, do you remember this since you're doing trivia?
Yeah, that's Screaming Mimi from the Mad Balls.
Mad Balls. Dude, these things, I tried to find
the name of it.
These are on eBay, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm going to buy a few of these. They're like $40 each and up. Like the rare ones are like a couple $100. I'm like, come on, man, I can't afford that. But yeah, it's like the original stuff. Kind of cool.
Yeah, but But so where was I at? Oh, those cards. My brother started collecting football cards, and I was still baseball. So I wanted 89 tops traded, 89 score traded because they had Griffey rookies in them. And I was like, Mom, that's what I want for Christmas. Those sets. And I mean, those sets were like $12, right? So I mean, that was like my Christmas, like to get those 3 sets score tops traded. There was one other one, and then my brother was like, I want a Dan Marino rookie. I want a Jerry Rice rookie. I want a John Elway rookie. Football, there was no football Beckett, so you didn't even know what they were worth. But I remember when my mom bought them, they still had the stickers on them from the card shop, and like the Dan Marino rookie was like $8, and the John Elway was $7, and the Jerry Rice,
Yeah.
I believe, was like only $6. And I'm like, and that was like his Christmas, those singles. But he had those 3 rookie cards in his collection. But yeah, those that Dan Marino I have. I'm not sure if the Elway and the Jerry Rice are still around, but that Dan Marino, that very first one that my mom broke down for a Christmas gift and bought for my brother for $7 for one single card, seemed
Yeah.
like a lot of money.
It was. Yeah.
I still have that, and that's it's not graded, it's raw, but it's in a plastic like one touch, and it's actually put away in my fireproof box. It's the only card right now that's currently in my safe, to be honest. And I can't put a value on it.
Inglorious.
That's why it's in the safe. If that was the one card that went missing out of all the cards that I have, that's probably the one that would hurt the most.
I think that there are a lot of people that do have a PC or that do or collect a set, but it's not necessarily top of mind of what people are talking about. I mean, if we're looking at like content, whether it's any type of social media content, they're probably going to put their best stuff forward because there is kind of a keeping up with the Joneses element to that. I'm not saying that I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses because I can't keep up, but I think that there's people that have side PCs and stuff that just might not make it as known. Like I collect Breeze, but am I out making every video about Drew Brees cards that I'm after or that picked up? No, I'm not. And there's nothing against obviously those videos. I think they're awesome, but it's just that it might just be that people aren't talking about it as much. But I run into people all the time at shows. They'll show me stuff they picked up, dollar cards or whatever of certain players, like Raiders cards or whatever, like their favorite team. Like, so I know that people are doing that.
I can tell you a content creator that collects, but his content is nothing about collecting. It's all about hustling, flipping, making money. But he collects, and I know that he collects because I've seen his stuff, and I know personally that's Kenny Fornos. Kenny Fornos collects. He has a collection. He has stuff. He just doesn't talk about it. He doesn't show it because it's not what the majority of people want to see. It's not the entertainment
around the grind,
right? Yeah, his content is around the entertaining / people are going to live vicariously through him at a card show, and that's what his content is about. Now I can't speak.
It's his business too. I mean, if I remember, that's his main job.
Oh yeah, it is. He's LLC, but even the others, I don't know. I don't know the other. Like there's a crew that he hangs out with. I don't know them as well, but I know that Kenny PCs, and he even mentioned in one of his last vlogs that right now he's trying to stockpile money so that he can buy the stuff that he wants to have. Someday. So
God bless Ronald Reagan cheese. I used to cut lawns to buy packs. I think we were all there doing it was always a kind of grinding around doing exactly, little odd jobs and stuff. That's a good point. Yeah, I guess it's all relative. I mean, inflation and wages are higher.
Yeah, it depends on what a lot of money. Everybody's definition of a lot of money.
It depends. Yeah,
everybody's definition is different. Yeah.
The entry point back then was a lot lower, but totally different game back then. Everybody, it's kind of like what you said, Steve, like a $7 single card was a lot of money for a single card because there was 15 cards in a pack, for $1. So the idea of spending $7 on one card was like the mentality was like, yeah, but why wouldn't you just stack these cards? Like why we can get more cards. It was all about volume. It wasn't about anything other than volume, unless you were buying, I guess, vintage cards. You know, in the 80s, you might have been buying 50s vintage cards that were more expensive, but a lot of folks weren't doing that though. If you were kind of in the mainstream, you were just buying kind of packs with, for your kids or whatever.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
I busted 86, 87 Fleer basketball in the department store. Like,
yeah, they had those packs at your grocery store, right?
yeah, they had them at a local Roses. Roses is a department store that was around here when I was a kid. Now, a lot of them have gone out of business, but there's still a couple around. And at the register, as you're about to leave, they would have sports cards sitting on the register, not in a separate spot or anything. And it would be in the box that they came in. The box had the print on it of how much a pack costs, which I want to say 35 cents, 30. No, I don't think it was 30 cents. Might have been 35 cents anyway at the time for 86, 87 Fleer basketball. And going through that line with my mom, I could get a pack. You know what I mean? Like, looking back on that now, you're like, I would have bought the entire box and asked them if they had any in the back, right? But it's like 35 cents, and you hope mom has it that day, right? So, but I remember busting the red, white, and blue cards out of those packs and looking at them, and it wasn't even a basketball Beckett yet, so it wasn't even like you knew that the Jordan was worth money.
Well, and that's the whole fun thing about collectibles, as far as the money piece goes, is there's going to be something today that in 30 years, we're all going to be like, damn, I could have got those whenever I wanted, and just didn't know that they were going to be valuable or whatever. There will be something like that, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be lucky to get 2 packs in a week, had to go without eating big cookies at school for that week. Yeah, absolutely. Government cheese boxes, great for storing cards. Chris talking about the misdemeanors at school. I stole pizza slices at school and resold them. Sealed Mad Balls are very expensive, so I know you're going to try to sell me one for like $500, Chris, and I'm not going there. $100 range is actually kind of low for a sealed one, but that's cool. Nostalgia sells, yes, absolutely. Nostalgia definitely does, and the 80s and 90s are like the mecca for nostalgia.
See, I was reading one.
Probably wrap up. I didn't realize we're 90 minutes in, and I've had a long day today. So
here we go, folks. Here goes the stamina. There he goes, going down.
I'm weak. I'm not like Steve. I can't do these 3-hour live
streams. He's like Logan Paul in the last round, man.
Oof.
He's just barely hanging on, trying to get somebody to hold him up.
Oh man, I need more coffee.
The Logan Paul, Jake Paul, right? The one that just was boxing. Jake
Paul.
Yeah,
Jake Paul.
He's like Jake Paul in the last round, man. He's like, hold me up, baby. I can't stand.
It's been Adrian.
A day. Simon 466 cards has a comment about selling from a PC, which is
what time?
10:31. Only 3 minutes
almost
old.
There. Okay.
Almost got it.
10:31. There he is. All right. Great YouTube channel, by the way. Shout out Simon 466 Cards. Great YouTube channel. Possible to sell a card from PC if you think it's too good of a price. The guy who sold the Luka Logo Man auto bought it back and made $1 million in the process. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like I did a video talking about selling. It's okay to sell out of your PC because everybody was frowning upon it. Because I think that, or how a Grail card. If it's a Grail card, how could you ever sell it? Because your Grail cards change and circumstances in life change. But
just as long as your Grail card doesn't change 5 minutes later. That's when people get a little bit bugged out. I can understand that we got some YouTubers that are buying.
Well, I'm not pinpointing any direct. That this comment was directed towards
strays. I'm firing strays off into the air.
Not
at you, Steve. But there has been Grail cards that miraculously.
There's a hole in my wall back there. One flew right by.
It wasn't. I'm not talking about you.
But I would just because I'm always trying to upgrade, because I don't collect large amounts of the players that I like, because I've learned that it's just impossible. I'm the type of person that if I feel like I'll have to have every card of a player or my collection's never complete. So what I had to do was just be like, I'll never have every Larry Bird autograph, right? So I got to narrow it down to 1 or 2 that are just really nice pieces that I have in my collection. But with that being said, if I felt like I could move that for a better one, that's what I would do. So that's how I tend to, like, if I was to move cards out of my PC, it would be like, okay, it's kind of cards coming out of my PC, but there's a card replacing this card in my PC. I'm not just selling this out of my PC unless you need to, right? I sold a really high end Doctor Strange card I told before because, my daughter wants to get married, and, so at the time it was a really high dollar card, and I did well on it. Daughter's wedding is going to be paid for without touching my bank account. So, it just made sense.
Yeah. Pepino was the dumb kid trading a quarter for 3 nickels, volume over value.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Sealed VHS. And now Steve Aoki is grading vinyl and cassette tapes.
No, it's even better than that, man. 8 tracks.
8 tracks. That's what I mean. Like the cassette
8 tracks is better. Like, they're older and they display better.
Yeah. Sealed Walkmans are going to be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, everything will have some sort of collectability to the right person. It's just a matter not as if it's massive. What is the actual demand for that stuff going to be?
Yeah.
It may, it's like when F1 cards hit, and F1 cards were really expensive, but I don't think it was a demand among a large amount of people as much as it was a demand among a small group of people who had a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and wasn't with F1, wasn't there just really low supply, but then they kind of came out with some more sets on it. So, I mean, and not that there's tons of it, and I don't know that market at all, but from what I remember, it was kind of like there just wasn't any supply. So once some money tried to get into it, then it moved the prices up. Boom shakalaka energy drink. I do. I'll be all right. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Good YouTube channel for sure. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, he was 91, so he got a lot of life. I hope to get to 90, 91, and actually good quality of life too. I mean, so it was sad. It's not shocking because he was 91, so obviously it's not a shock, but it's just weird when a family member leaves. And I'm not from a huge family, so it's not like I've got 20 siblings or anything to where, there's just, that was my last grandfather. I mean, it's just weird. It's odd. Maybe I'm getting old. I'm about to turn 42, so my midlife crisis is in full swing. So when I lose people, it hits a little bit harder nowadays.
Yeah, my grandfather passed in May of 2022. May. The funeral was May 16th. It was the same day as my brother's birthday. But and yeah, so, and he was in his early 90s. He was a military veteran and everything too. So, like, your story today was a lot like mine. A lot. My wife watched that video with me.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, my dad enjoyed the video, and that was the main thing, is I wanted him to be happy with it, because it's not like I didn't run it by anybody. I just said, hey, Dad, I put a video up about, Grampy, and then he liked it, thankfully. I'm glad it wasn't like, well, you could have put a little bit more effort into it or something, but my family gave me a lot of good praise on it, so I was happy with that. Fanatics is now adding more parallels, ridiculous, frozen, negative, numbered. We touched on this, Junk Wax 2.0. I know it's kind of funny. If 1 of 1 is now going to become not rare anymore, is that what we're saying? A 1 of 1 is like a purple out of 25?
It's the only one, but wait, there's one more.
Actually, is it the negative 1 or the 1 of 1? I mean, that's not confusing, is it?
The 0 of 0. That's the card I want.
So Stranger Things, Zero Cool Tops, that new set that they just brought out, it's got 0 out of 0s in it. I'm like, oh man, that's rough.
How does that work? How can a card be a 0?
I don't really know. Yeah,
that's a strange thing, I'll tell you that.
Stranger Things. Strange things. Yep, Steve Aoki. Yep, 8-track CDs, the whole bit. It's coming. I've got that Vitology album I'm sending in, Steve. To get graded.
10.
Steve Aoki.
10 is the one, or you need the
$10 CD. It's cool though. I mean, it's got like that little leather bound case, that it came in. They're not rare, but I wonder,
you need the 2-song single import from Europe that had yellow Ledbetter on the B side.
I've got one that was like a promo that's not for sale, it says on it. So I think that one's pretty rare. But anyway. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up soon. Any other comments? Throw them in. We're at an hour 40. I'm on the East Coast and I'm an old man. So 10:41. It's, oh, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. We'll have to have you back on for sure, dude. Yeah, miss having you on. I miss your YouTube. You need to come back, throw a YouTube video once a month.
In my last video, I was doing a giveaway for a Mosaic basketball blaster, and all you had to do was try to name what that part was that was in that bag that I got in the mail. Nobody will guess ever what that is. So I'm just looking for participation. Anybody who watches my video.
I threw it hot tub part is what.
Yeah, it's not a hot tub part. There's one person who made one guess. They said it was a fuse to a flux capacitor, and that was on the right track, but it wasn't that. That's not what it was. Like, it is something from a movie, and it goes to a movie prop. I'm waiting for the main prop to get here, and it's an upgrade for that. But yes, I wasn't the flux, but that's the only person that was even close. Everybody else was guessing something that was like in real life. But anyway, I didn't think anybody would get it anyway, so it's just a participation thing. I'm going to end up giving it away to just a random comment that attempted. So if anybody hasn't watched that video or done it, go back there and make sure you. If you would like a Mosaic blaster of 21, 22 basketball, yeah, Walmart had it, so I bought 2 blasters to give them away.
Yeah, this is just way too much math, Junter. I think
I'm about to have a train, so we can't go yet.
You're about to what? Oh, a train.
I'm about to have a train, so we can't go yet.
All right. Yes, Peter, we are both going to the Philly show. I'm driving up to Delaware where Steve is, and then we're going to drive over Saturday morning. So I'll be there all day Saturday. I don't know if we're going. Santiago Sports is doing a trade night Saturday night. I'm not sure if we're going to stay for that or the whole, I don't know. I know we're not staying for the entire thing. Maybe we'll stay for a little bit. Steve's getting weird, brought his dog into the show. Is it a boy or a girl? Or are you still on train? Yours is so well behaved. Mine is like, well, Spritz, Spritz. She's actually pretty well behaved, actually. Just got a lot of energy. Thanks, Michael. I'm not going to say Skull or go Vikings or anything like that, but appreciate you tuning in. I'm salty about the last couple of playoff losses. I was actually in attendance for the last one, so brutal times. And we're rebuilding and all that, so it's, yeah. Touchy subject.
All right, I think we're good.
3,000 CDs and some rare ones. They deteriorated quickly, so don't know how grading would go. Yeah, and what they look for, like what's the grading criteria? Good question. Will it catch on?
I have a cassette tape.
Oh, you grabbing something?
I have a cassette tape right here. It's another Dustin versus the comments before we end.
Oh, no. I'm not really I probably won't get it. I'm not great at music stuff.
Well, but you get a head start. That's the thing. They're spotting you, whatever the delay is. This is a cassette tape of the Wild Stallions. Does anybody know what that's from?
No.
No.
I don't know it.
The Wild Stallions? Come on, man. I actually should listen to this and see what it sounds like.
The Wild
not answering. Oh, there we go. Junter is right. It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, yeah. Wild Stallions. Okay.
Yeah, the Wild Stallions. So you
nice.
Put your thinking cap on a little bit.
The self-lacing Nike sneakers from Back to the Future. Those are sweet.
Oh, yeah. What are they called? Air Mags or something like that?
They're out there. Yeah, they exist.
Yeah, they do. They're pretty expensive. All I have from Back to the Future is the license plate from the DeLorean back there and the flux capacitor light over here.
Hey, did you see the remake, like the Bill and Ted remake? Or they just brought out a new Bill and Ted, and Keanu Reeves looks like he's 80 years old because he like shaved his beard. I'm like, nope. Grow that beard back, bro.
I don't think I saw it.
I'm pretty sure there's a new movie. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was a new movie that came out for Bill and Ted. Anyway.
Yeah, there probably was. I'm just probably behind. I don't watch TV. If football's not on, I really don't watch television.
It's just YouTube and sports. No, I'm with
Yeah,
you.
it's like we moved into the new house and we got rid of the cable, right? So we had cable and internet was the same bill, but we are like, we don't even watch television. And so we just did up the bill that we were paying and then we compared it to the apps that we want to pay for and like save so much money. We were like, man, we don't even use cable. Let's just keep the apps that we watch. And it just made a lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. We did the same thing. We don't have cable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we are going to jump off. I need to crash. I'm tired. But thank you very much for joining. Make sure to check out GameDayLegends.com. Use DAD, D-A-D, promo code for 20% off anything in the entire site. No joke. And sports memorabilia, I'm going to be honest, it's not like I have like tons of it, but it's really it's damn cool. Like just to have a couple of pieces. Oh, Steve's got his bird jersey. Okay. This
I'm
is from
still
Game
trying
Day
to hang it
Legends.
up.
Dude,
It's
that's
leaning
awesome.
up against the TV stand, but I need to hang it up but I guess I got to find studs to drill into the wall. Or did you hang yours with nails?
I use nails.
So it supported it. Okay.
Yeah, I have the same exact. It looks the same exact like frame and everything. It's not super heavy.
All right, word.
Sorry, Jordan. Must be the old eyes is past. Yeah, sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to skip you. I promise. I did not mean to skip you. All right, guys. Have a great night. We will see you in 2 weeks. And I'll be doing some vloggy type stuff from the Philadelphia card show. And I'll see you there. If you're going to be at the Philly show, I'm looking forward to seeing you. All right.
Yeah, that's less than a week away.
Say bye, Steve.
See you.